Public education in America is working toward two goals at the same time: equity and excellence. It also needs to work with two strategies at the same time: improvement and innovation. This story is about the how of innovation. Ananth Pai grew up on the Malabar coast in South India. He came to America to study graphics. Halfway through a career in the printing industry, he decided to become a teacher. In 2008, he took the initiative to individualize his third-grade classroom. Why did he do this, and what results did he achieve? Did individualizing learning close the gaps in achievement?
I don't have every child doing the same page at all times. So each child is working on different pages of the fractions packet, for example, because they all learn at different paces. Some pick up certain things faster, some need more support. If you take just one page in a packet, I've had children that take just 1 day to finish, and that same page may have taken another child somewhere between a week to 10 days. But throughout that time, they're each getting different kind of support from me as a teacher. And we don't move on, whether that be on the computer or on paper, or if you're working on whiteboard or whatever it is, we don't move on until the child has reached the level of mastery.
Everybody, everywhere, assumes the graded school, or students grouped by age.
I don't know what fourth grade is anymore. Is fourth grade the same thing for the kid that just moved from Somalia and has never been to school, but he's in fourth grade? So grading no longer has any sense of meaning except age.
There is this concept called zone of proximal development, which means that if you need to know the next thing, you have to begin with where your current knowledge is, and then build to the next one, and then build on to the next one.
All the hand-wringing and the anguish about achievement gaps. The terrible truth is the achievement gaps are permanent until or unless we individualize the learning experience.
The September evaluations told Mr. Pai that his students' attainment in language and math ranged from the 10th percentile and below to the 90th percentile and above. He concluded the way to improve achievement is to start where each student is and go from there. That seemed to work.
This is Money Island. At the moment, she's playing a quiz to earn more money. And during the game, they teach you about different things. Using your own money wisely and spend it for wants and needs correctly. So it's just about teaching you about money and stuff.
I'm playing Math Blaster.
You're playing Math Blaster. Can you tell the people a little bit about Math Blaster and what it is? What do you learn from it?
You learn multiplication, division, adding, subtracting, and also you learn a little bit of fractions.
I'm doing times attack. It has multiplication, and it shows you the first level, then the second level, then you get to go on to a couple more levels.
What are you practicing?
Are you trying?
Addition.
Can you see he's kind of half playing and half talking to you, and he'd really rather be playing than talk to you. To be honest, I mean, his head is in there. Actually, he's doing fractions right now. What kinds of things have you learned playing the game?
Well, that it's not easy to be a president.
I have noticed in the last 3 years that they can perform not just on par as NWA math tests say, but they can not even double. Most of them have tripled their performance. That means they're growing 2-3 times as expected.
So Pai has found the motivation, the curriculum is driving the learning, and his kids are scoring head and shoulders above other classrooms.
I see that what Mr. Pai is doing fits in well with what the current research is saying about being a student-centered classroom.
It is fairly rare to see that kind of individualization outside of the special ed environment where every student has an IEP. But essentially, Mr. Pai is creating an individual learning plan for each student, sequencing the learning objectives, and then monitoring continuously throughout the day.
So I'm a big fan of both the individualization, the differentiation, the instruction that meets them exactly where they are, the proximal zone of development. But at the same time, I also want to see students engage with each other.
Did you beat that?
To individualize, Mr. Pai needed technology. He declined the interactive whiteboard the district offered him. That's technology for the teacher, Mr. Pai said. I want technology for the students.
I thought that $6,000 or whatever could be taken and divided into smaller devices, I'd say a decent computer, and get internet access, go online. And then that would allow me to serve the needs of the varied needs of these kids. I did not get buy-in from the administrators, and so I decided to fund it myself with the support from my wife. We got matching dollars from her company, and at a later time, I won a $2,000 grant. And so with all of those funds, I dedicated towards acquiring computers, the Nintendo DS systems, and I bought some digital voice recorders to build the fluency of readers.
His individualization has not spread. Will it last? Nobody knows.
It's very difficult to make significant change within an organization. Because the organization won't let you. Organizations are very willing to do continuous improvement. Everybody wants to get a little bit better today than we were yesterday, but not really different. Everybody follows the same curriculum. And if you don't, even though, like Mr. Pai, your kids are excelling, but he's not following the rules. And when you don't follow the rules, the consequences, and those consequences may be peer pressure, don't do that. The principal saying, you're making me look bad. And so the rubber band snaps back and into the system you go.
Mr. Pai has shown these gains at meetings of educators. Nothing happens. Why not? What would it take to make personalization spread?
If this was business, there would be people making deals with me, and I have been in that world. I could not be more stunned by the apathy. As a young man who had odds of everything in life going against me, stating where I said I started, and to come to the United States, from which bags of food used to come to my school when I was a child that had the stamp USA on it, and to find this kind of bureaucratic apathy is stunning.
Companies get to be successful by doing things in certain ways, and those ways accumulate and they add up to a culture. And they become so implicit that nobody even raises questions. They're just sort of the assumed ways of doing things. Innovation just typically does not happen on the inside. It gets suppressed, it gets suffocated by a culture, by a way of doing things that just makes it very difficult.
Sometimes, realistically, the different has to be started in a different place.
Target is a vivid example when the Dayton brothers in the early 1960s recognized that there wouldn't be a great need for very much longer for people to go to one centrally located, comprehensively merchandised department store downtown. They had the notion that discount retailing would be the next big thing to get into, but they didn't go close the department store. They just gave life to this small organization, starting with one store in Roseville, Minnesota. What happens is that Policy allows something different and new to be created, to be operated, to see how it's working out, even while the dominant way of doing things continues.
While superintendent at Buffalo, Minnesota, Tom Nelson worked with teachers to try a different approach to learning.
I've not had any success in organizing like a school within a school. Schools have a tendency to force everything to be the same.
Frustrated by their difficulties, they decided to start a new school in a different building.
It was the first school of choice in the community, and it had a waiting list first year, and it was a school that was an ungraded primary and a looping program where the teachers stayed with the students as they moved through the program. It really looked like the old one-room schoolhouse from years ago.
In Minneapolis, teachers, leaders in the union, have decided that if there are ever going to be schools that give teachers professional responsibility, teachers will have to create them.
Fortunately, in Minnesota, of course, we have such strong policy that allows us to design and then articulate these different public school learning programs through the instrumentality of chartering. The charter law is an opportunity for teachers. So we fundamentally, in our work, build our programs around the professional capacities and interests of teachers.
There's a tremendous amount of resistance when you try and implement a change in the system. The system likes everybody to be the same. When you are the same, there's less risk, there's less exposure, there's less ways to compare. Is one system better than another system? So the system does whatever it can to force sameness.
Schools designed and run by teachers often look very different. This one is a project-based high school in the chartered sector. So can change and innovation, the split-screen strategy, happen?
You can argue that most of the innovation that's happening in the United States is because some state has opened its system so people can try new and different things, even as the regular, standard way of doing things marches on. That's the only way we're going to get change.
I'm very optimistic that as time proceeds here, more power will come back to the schools, the teachers, and that community. We can do it now, and the more quickly we can get that kind of power administratively to the teachers, I think the more successful we'll be.